Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to News Talk tonight, coming to you from the great state of Texas, precisely Houston. Houston, in the great state of Texas, coming to you from the USA. I'd like to say good evening to all of you who are tuning in from where we call Ground Zero, talking about the Federal Republic of Amazonia and, of course, Africa as a whole. Also like, of course, to welcome all of you who are joining from the continental USA, including Canada, South America, continental Europe, including the United Kingdom, and of course, the far, the Near East, and the Middle East, whoever divided there is. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I bring you a single subject broadcast tonight about this newfound African Pan-Africanism, and we are hoping to do justice on this subject as I bring in my guests to discuss what is happening in the African continent, with African leaders doing and acting in the way we've never seen them acting before. So that is the subject of the broadcast I bring to you today. Please, as usual, if you are watching by way of Facebook, go ahead, hit that share button. Let us see the numbers jumping on the social media platform. Again, thanks for tuning in. Please stay tuned. I will be right back. And do not touch the dial if you are watching by way of television. Once more, good evening and welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. I bring to you today a subject which has become the talk of the day in all of Africa, but I guess also across the world. We saw a few weeks ago African leaders marching to Ukraine and Russia to broker peace. We also saw at a recent global climate summit in Paris, African leaders standing up to the West and telling them now the time has come for African leaders to be equal partners on the table, and that Africans are no longer beggars, but they want to be seated on every table, be it at the IMF or World Bank, the United Nations Security Council. They want to be seated as partners and not as beggars. We saw this play around all over the week, and that is the subject of my talking point to you today. That is the subject of my talking points to you today. In recent times, ladies and gentlemen, African leaders have been championing what I will describe as a new wave of Pan-Africanism, an ideology that seeks to unite the continent under a common vision of economic, political, and social empowerment. This new Pan-Africanism is evident in the recent Paris summit on the new global financial pact, climate change, opposition to the LGBT movement, and a peace mission to Ukraine and to Russia. At the Paris financial summit, African leaders came together to demand a new global financial pact that would address the economic inequalities for the first time between the global north and the south. The leaders called for an end to the debt burden that has been crippling African economies for decades, and for an increase in investments in infrastructure and human capital. African leaders argued that such investments would not only benefit Africa, but would also help to stimulate the global economy, which has been struggling in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. Similarly, African leaders want to be at the forefront. They want to be at the forefront of the fight against climate change, which disproportionately affects the continent. The African Union has been pushing for a more aggressive stance on climate change, calling for developed countries to take responsibility for their historical emissions and to provide financial and technological support to developing countries in their efforts to mitigate and adapt to the impacts of climate change on poorer countries. However, this newfound Pan-Africanism has also been met with resistance from the West, particularly regarding issues such as LGBT rights. Several African countries have been criticized for their anti-LGBT laws, with some Western countries like the USA, Canada threatening to withhold aid and trade agreements unless these laws are repealed. African leaders have pushed back against this pressure, arguing that the West is attempting to impose its values on African countries and that issues of sexuality should be left to individual countries to decide. African leaders have also been actively involved in peace missions, such as the recent peace mission to resolve the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. African leaders have argued that the continent, ladies and gentlemen, has a unique experience in conflict resolution, having dealt with numerous conflicts over the years, and that this experience can be leveraged to help resolve conflicts in other parts of the world, they say. In light of these recent developments, there are several lessons that the West can learn from Africa's newfound Pan-Africanism, I guess. Firstly, the West needs to recognize that African countries are not passive recipients of aid and support, but rather active agents in their development. African leaders are beginning to demonstrate that they are capable of coming together to push for their own interests, and that the West should engage with them as equal partners rather than simply as aid beneficiaries. If anything that African leaders are saying, it is that the West needs to recognize the importance of respecting the sovereignty and cultural values of African countries. While there may be differences in values and beliefs, the West should not attempt to impose its own values on African people or countries, but rather work with them to find common ground and solutions that are acceptable to all parties. Africa's newfound Pan-Africanism is a positive development that should be embraced by the West. By working together, African and Western leaders can create a more equitable and a just world, one that addresses the economic, social, and environmental challenges that we all face. And that is my monologue to you for this first segment of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm being joined by somebody who has been a true Pan-Africanist and a friend in that case of Ambazonia. I am here referring to the one and only Dr. David Masanga. For your information, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Masanga is the founder and chairman of the Pan-African Forum Limited. Born in Uganda, but he lives in the United Kingdom. He's a political scientist and international relations expert too. He does peace negotiations and conflict resolution. A Pan-Africanist, and he says he hates the International Criminal Court. Dr. Masanga, it's a pleasure to have you, sir. I don't know why you hate the International Criminal Court. Is this because South Africa doesn't want to arrest Putin?
First of all, I don't know whether you are hearing me properly. Are you hearing me?
I can hear you, sir. I can hear you.
Thank you very much for inviting me on this show. And I want to thank the people of Africa and the people of Amazonia for having resisted the draconian rule of President Paul Biya. I have been behind the struggle for the freedom of the people of Amazonia, following a route of total independence under Resolution 1608 of 1961. And therefore, as you rightly put it, I'm a great friend of the people of Amazonia. Two, I am also a good enemy of International Criminal Court. From the time of its inception up to today, there is nothing I've agreed with it. We thought it was a good court, but it came out to be a court that hunts out, goes on hunting Africans, bringing only Africans, selective justice, looking for those that America does not like, and putting them in, looking for those that the French don't like, put them in. Crime is crime. It has no selection. One of the things that makes me hate the International Criminal Court up to date, as you know, Uganda was one of the first cases in the ICC. I therefore know more about the International Criminal Court than anybody south of Sub-Saharan region. The Kenyans didn't know it was coming. I knew it. And I'm here as a testimony. I've struggled against Babco's detention. I said it. It was fake. It happened. It was released. Bemba, it was fake. It was released. Uhuru Kenyatta, fake case, released. William Ruto, His Excellency, the President, the current President of Kenya, fake case again, released. All the cases of Africa were fake, and they continue to be fake in the word F-A-K-E. Dr. Ono, I have no regrets for stating this to the world and the people of Africa to know that under the United Nations Security Council, we are in trouble. We put Article 127 of the United Nations, of the ICC treaty, that if Africa, if any state, member state, feels that they are not having equal rights in the ICC, the marriage is not there, pack up your goods and go back to Africa, put up your own court. Why is Africa not putting up its own court to try its own people on the continent of Africa?
Doc, I get you. We will get back to that, but I'd like you to stay put and take a listen to this. And I'd like to inform our listeners that we were also supposed to be having Ambassador Dr. Arikana Shihombori but he called out at a die minute and asked us to reschedule her. So we will not be having her on the show today. But Dr. Masanga is here. And Dr. Masanga, I'd like you to take a moment, listen to the president of Kenya, Uhuru. Is it Ruto or Uhuru? One of the names. But listen to him, please, at the World Summit, Climate Summit in France. Listen to him.
President Macron has convened us for what has been dubbed as the How Dare You Summit. And for sure, I think we have confronted financial orthodoxy. We have confronted shareholder power, global capitalism, and corporate power. And we have also had a conversation about big oil. Madame Lawrence Tobiana spoke about breaking taboos. Prime Minister Mia Mottley reminded us that this is not a formal decision-making forum, but a pivotal moment to set aside our national interest and end the perpetual blame game. I want to repeat here again, as I did before, this is not about North versus South. It is not about emitters or non-emitters. It's not about the rich versus poor, climate guilty or innocent, and the powerful or the powerless. It's about all of us, big and small.
It's about all of us, big and small. I don't know whether you out there discern, whether you are able to discern the message. What the president of Kenya is saying in that address is Africa will no longer come and be told what they got to do, what portion of the world cake they have to take, but they want to be partners to sit on that table and be part of the decision makers. This is what I call the new Pan-Africanism. Dr. Masanga, what is your take on what you are saying there? Now, that view was also expressed by the president of South Africa, Ramaphosa. We've heard it expressed by the president of Zambia and many others. And even Kenya, Ghana. What's your take on that, sir?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity. I hope you are hearing me. Are you hearing me?
I can hear you. I can hear you 5 on 5.
Yes. I would like to take this opportunity to thank His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, for having come out to our aid, to help us. Some of us who have been shouting alone as Lone Rangers. I want to take this opportunity to thank President Samoei Ruto, Dr. William Samoei Ruto of Kenya. That is the spirit of Pan-Africanism. That is the direction that Africa wants. Frank talk, candid talk, tell the truth. There is nothing that is going to hurt it. You will not have any problem. Africa needs people after Mugabe departure. We have nobody to talk for us. Some of us have tried. PLO Lumumba tries. The other lady here who did not turn on this meeting tries, and the chickens out of some of the meetings. You know, she chickens out of some of the meetings. But look, we are always telling the truth. We need more of His Excellency, President Ruto, to come out and tell the truth. He has been candid. He has been straightforward. Why should we as Africans be beggars? Why should we beg? We have everything on the continent. We have things that can help us to build a better Africa. Why have we let ourselves down? The president was very spot on. Your Excellency, on behalf of Pan-African Forum, the people of Africa and the people of the diaspora, the people of the international community, the third world, that has been molested, especially by France, where you were. The West African state, Cameroon, is bleeding, while France, Macron, is enjoying food with Paul Biya. They are busy sharing the proceeds of oil, while people in Amazonia are dying, while people in Cameroon are dying, while Libya is dying, is perishing, while Sudan is perishing. And you want us to go on all the time as Africans to say, oh, you are very good people, you have done this. No, time has come. I support the new Pan-Africanism that has come up in this new dispensation of His Excellency the President of Republic of Kenya and His Excellency the President of South Africa. At the time, the President of South Africa waffles on a number of things. But on this one, he was straight on. He waffled. He was waffling over this question of Putin coming to South Africa. Invite Putin. There is nothing they will do to you. ICC is a club of diplomats who sit in one room to decide whom should be taken to court. They will not do anything to South Africa. If Ramaphosa appears...
But doctor, if I may ask you there, if I may come in there, when you are saying
yes,
Ramaphosa or South Africa should not arrest Putin coming to South Africa. I mean, South Africa is a signatory to the ICC treaty.
So what? Is the ICC a court of national importance? ICC is a complementary court. And I repeat, anybody who has gone to school, except those who did not go to school but went to the compound and stayed in the compound. I went to school. I know very well that ICC is a complementary court. It supplements what African courts do. It does not usurp the powers of the African countries, the sovereignty of African countries.
And somebody will say to you, doctor, somebody will say to you on that same point, somebody will say to you on that same point, the African court virtually doesn't exist. And even when they exist, they really don't carry out their duties. For example, would you like the ICC to go after Paul Biya, whom you are just condemning now? Will you support it?
If Paul Biya is arrested, I want him to be taken to Arusha, so that you can fly into
You want
Tanzania.
him to be taken to Arusha?
Arusha, yes, for detention. So that you can go to Arusha and see him in jail in Arusha. Why do you take him there?
So if you support the ICC to take Biya to Arusha, why wouldn't you support the ICC to arrest Putin in South Africa?
No, I don't support ICC to arrest Paul Biya, to take him to the Hague. I hate Africans being exported out of the continent. I want Paul Biya to stand trial in a tribunal on the African continent by African judges, and therefore we must have an African court of justice and human rights. We must put money in it so that our people are not thrown to a court that is biased, that is politically witch-hunted, hunting people, that is paid, supplied, equipped by America. Yet Americans are not signatory to the court. Have you seen an American being judged by ICC? Show me one American who has been judged. Yes, then why do you want to take our Africans? Why do you want to take them? Tell me that anybody who has gone to school, if you have gone to school and you stopped in the compound and you did not enter the classroom, then you can think that way. But me who knows the ICC, Karim Khan was not in the ICC when it was being formed. He was still a student in London. I was in Rome in 1998 when ICC was being formed in that hall with Kofi Annan and the Kenyan Peter Mwangi and others. When they were the first meeting in 1998, I was in Rome. These people don't know what the ICC is. We did not form it to collect Africans on fake evidence. Crimes are committed in Africa, but investigations of ICC are shoddy, fake. They buy witnesses. They allow people to buy witnesses to fix others. The Kenyan cases were fixed by George Soros and a group. Kenyan cases were fixed by the French, who wanted to fix Kenyatta and William Ruto and put them in jail for life so that they can have a candidate of their choice. Let's talk. If we don't talk now, when shall we talk? If we don't talk now, when shall we talk? Let's tell America to leave ICC alone. Putin is right to go to South Africa because South Africa has a law. If South Africa has a law that gives president of other countries,
all right,
then let it be. So be. Why do you want to arrest him and take him where? Why can't America arrest Putin? They know where the plane is coming. Why do you want to put the burden on South Africa?
Talking about arresting the West arresting people, but I'd like to take you back to the summit in France recently. Please listen to this.
I played a key role as chair of the African Union during the COVID period. We felt like we were beggars when it came to vaccine availability, when we felt we needed access to vaccines, and the Northern Hemisphere countries had bought all the vaccines in the world, and they were hogging them. And they didn't want to release them at the time when we needed them most. And we felt like we were begging. And at times it felt like they would just be droppings from the table, that yes, we will give you that and that. And let me tell you something that generated a lot of resentment. We were all at one, that even as we were going to address an issue of the war which has had a negative impact on the African continent, which is the rise in prices for food, rise in prices for fertilizers, we were clear that we are not going there as beggars. We are not going to ask for a favor to both Ukraine and Russia. We were going there to say, open up the Black Sea Channel so that the grains and the fertilizers should go into the world market. So we were not on a begging mission, even as we are in great need.
Right. Dr. Masanga, what President Ramaphosa is saying there is driving home the point that was made earlier by the President of Kenya. Please stay put in there. Listen to this other one. Listen to this other one, still from Ruto of Kenya.
Another proposition I want to make to you is the United Nations. This is an important forum for transacting global affairs in diplomacy, peace, security, and trade, among others. But Africa, a continent of 1.2 billion people and a GDP of close to $2 trillion, finds itself disadvantaged by the current configuration of the UN Security Council, a configuration that was established 80 years ago, before the Second World War. But the world has since changed tremendously, we all know. Countries that had not become self-determining have since attained independence and are making a huge contribution to their people, continents, and the world. It is therefore time to reform the UN Security Council and change it from an exclusive club of 5 permanent members to a more representative global council that works for the interests of the whole world. We have said Africa must have, at the minimum, 2 permanent seats at the Security Council. And by the way, we are being very modest.
And by the way, we are being very modest, he says. But I would like to ask you, What is responsible for this newfound Pan-Africanism? Is it the new crop of leadership, or what is going on? Where have they been all these years?
Inspiration from elders like you and me. I've been there. I've been talking about this for a long time. At the age of 68 today, I am going towards sunset. I have stood against ICC. I have stood against sanctions hurting Zimbabwe. I have defeated Tony Blair, who has told the world that he's a liar. You have seen all these people, the wars that have taken place in Africa. People have come up and said, we lied, we lied, we lied. So if you lied, and then you went on bombing countries, you bomb in Libya, because you are a member of the Permanent Security Council. 5 members of the United Nations Security Council are quarreling. They are fighting today. Let the world hear. There is no UN anymore. UN is a quarreling club of 5 permanent members. Russia versus the United States of America and NATO. China is standing in the middle, sending good messages in the Middle East, fermenting itself and making its power known in the world. China has managed to come back, and it can even bring another United Nations without the one in New York. I'm telling you, you look at what the diplomacy China has played. China has played diplomacy. The Sunni and the Shiites in the Gulf states work together. Syria works together with Saudi Arabia. Iran works together with Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Look at the type of diplomacy that China has done, which the United States of America have never tried. So when His Excellency President William Samoei Ruto was right, and let him continue to tell these people the truth. We are 1.4 billion people with no membership at all. We don't have a membership at the permanent seat. We are beggars of medicine. You finish your treating your people, then send us the medicine. Yes.
So
you remember that the countries went on saying, we have given you supplies medicine. So
right.
Was the disease going to wait for us? Or was the disease not going to kill us? No, this must stop. We must start sitting on table as equal. Time has come for Africa to sit on table equally like any other member of this universe. God created us with the same blood. We have the same blood. They have the same blood. We must have equal rights in the United Nations Security Council.
So I guess my question is, what is happening now in Africa with this newfound Pan-Africanism coming almost from every nook and cranny of Africa, from the south, from the east, from the west? African leaders are finally standing up and saying, we are equals. You cannot have some people calling themselves superpowers at the United Nations Security Council, an organization that was founded how many years ago? About 80 years or so ago. And Africa, the second largest continent in the world in terms of size and population, have no representation at the United Nations Security Council. No permanent member, no veto power. Is it the new crop of leadership, like the Rutos, the Zambian leaders, the Ghanaian leaders, and so could we trace this to this new crop of leaders?
Yes, a new dispensation, a new direction has come. Believe me or not, Africa is not the same as it was. You can try to divide it, but it's not going to be divided anymore. Africa is on the path towards forward movement. Pan-Africanism is growing on every day and every minute, every hour. Look at the people who die in the Mediterranean Sea. In your country where you are in Arizona near there are people who went down to look for Titanic. You know, they wasted all those billions. Yet, if you gave us those billions, we can stop the death in Mediterranean Sea. And while they were sinking in the Mediterranean Sea, the metros of Europe were watching. In Greece, they watched as this boat was going down. You have seen the documentaries, which are very pathetic. Time has come for Africa to reinvent itself, to go back, to create a renaissance. I like the type of renaissance that His Excellency President William Samoei Ruto of Kenya is bringing back to the continent of Africa on African issues. I fully support him up to my last iota of blood, that we can go on and tell the truth, our story. 65 years of independence. We need to sit down now and see what we can do for this continent, not to run half members of organizations like. Why should we have 33 currencies that cannot purchase anything in one of the countries? Yet if we made it a one good currency, an African currency, it's not that you should demolish the dollar. Yet the dollar can compete with this currency that Africa. That's basically what President Ruto was saying. We can compete with the dollar. Anybody who tries to change this language, that is the language I understood. That you can create another currency that can compete in your trade. You can trade in Africa currency with a dollar. Why is it that every payments that you need to make, every imports that you need to make, you must declare in a dollar? You must pay in dollars. Yet we could do better if you have our unity. The people telling us to pay in dollars, they pay in euros in Europe. They pay in pounds. Why are we paying in dollars? Yet we also have our currencies. That is what the president was saying. He was not telling people that, oh, we don't want this, the dollar. No, the dollar can compete with another currency.
But then what do you make? What do you make of the fact that African leaders, South Africa in particular, they are championing this BRICS bloc instead of championing an African currency, an African bloc?
We need support from non-aligned states. Yes, we need support from non-aligned states. Non-aligned states. We must create non-alignment. The organization of non-alignment called NAM.
How about the idea of an African currency as a bloc with which they can use to leverage the rest of the international community, the West in particular?
No problem. That's President Ruto was giving a suggestion. You don't hate him for that. He was giving a suggestion. Let's look for other means. Let's have equal capacity. Let's borrow on the same level. Africa goes to borrow from IMF. But Africa is told to pay differently from the rates of America. Why? When you borrow, you have borrowed. You are borrowed the same from the same source. The papers that you sign for borrowing are the same as the papers that an African country signs. Why do you tell an African country to pay more interest? Why? Why do we stick in such an organization? These organizations were created. These organizations are personal property. If you go back to trace what the World Bank is, where you are, who created the World Bank? Who is the owner of the World Bank? Bretton Woods organized institutions. Who are they? Even the African Development Bank that we walk around and say we have African Development Bank. Do you know that African Development Bank, even the banks, the money, its main account for where they get the money is in New York. We don't have any bank on African continent which is ours. What about if we use Afro-Exim mechanisms of settling our bills, of settling our payments, of settling our imports? Why not? Why not? Why should you insist? Look at the other thing that pains me as a Pan-African. Mr. Sarkozy, the former president of France, helped to kill Gaddafi, destroy Libya, took Gaddafi's money. A court in France, in Paris, found him guilty. Dr. Ono, my brother, this is very painful. A court in France took Mr. Sarkozy guilty of having used the money that he took from Gaddafi to campaign, and it is going to sentence him to jail.
If I may, I just stop you there a little bit. In your dealings with African leaders, do they realize, do all of them realize and agree that France is the #1 African problem?
Yes. Everybody is seeing now. That's why we have a military coup coming. We are in Cameroon, it is coming. You will see.
In all of Central Africa. And
wait,
yeah, go on.
For you fear to say this. I don't fear. Cameroon, younger men will come and they will take down Mr. Paul Biya. Mr. Paul Biya rules Cameroon from his hotel in Switzerland. And I think they were happy. No African is not happy. I'm not happy. I'm not a Cameroonian. But I don't like the way, the treatment that Amazonians have been treated. Therefore, while they are being treated badly, France is watching. Macron is watching. And even giving Mr. Paul Biya a platform to also arrive in a conference. You know, so France has been one of the enemies of African continent. It even feel, you know, when this football took place, I saw some Africans even from your place celebrating that, the black people are playing in France. Me, Dr. Mazanga, to celebrate me, look at my eyes. Me, I know the plight of the people, of the black people, how they suffer in France. Those boys play football using material tied from their mother's cloth until the person selecting them pick them from a binoculars. They don't go to their slums. So for me, France is the #1 problem for this continent. Everywhere in France territory, there is a war.
All right. Talking about France being the problem, I'd like you to observe, just watch this clip coming from a commentator responding to African leaders' visit to Ukraine and Russia. Watch, please.
These African leaders traveled to Ukraine to talk about peace between Russia and Ukraine. And they traveled all the way to Ukraine, even though, I might add, there's an active war going on in Sudan. They could have gone to and tried to solve, but they chose to address the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So they traveled all the way to Russia and Ukraine. So during their visit to Ukraine, actually after they're done with that visit, Ukraine advisor Podolyak said that the African leaders had no business being in Ukraine to negotiate a peace settlement between the two countries, which is Russia and Ukraine. He said that the African leaders had neither the capability nor the power to get involved in matters they knew nothing about.
African leaders had no reason to be in Ukraine and Russia in matters they know nothing about. But I was interested, Dr. Masanga, on the first point that lady made, that there are conflicts in Africa. She quoted Sudan. Of course, you know the example of Amazonia, where people are slaughtered and homes burnt down on a daily basis. And the African Union hasn't made a statement on the 7-year-old conflict in Cameroon, but a conflict just a year old in Ukraine and Russia. African leaders form a delegation and say they can go negotiate peace in Ukraine and Russia. How about Africa? How about in Amazonia? How about in Sudan?
Thank you very much, my brother. In Africa, we have a big problem. And I'm very happy that some of the people who went there got the treatment they deserve. I was very, very upset with the way Ukraine treated my delegation from my country, Uganda. And if
some people are saying they deserve it.
No, wait, I am coming to that point. But I'm very, very disappointed with Ukraine. If I was a minister, if I were a minister of Uganda, foreign minister, Ukraine ambassador in Uganda would have packed with his knickers or his underwear out of my country. You cannot besmirch my flag. You cannot remove my flag. You can hate anything. You can hate President Museveni, but you don't touch my flag. Because that flag, some of us who grew up, who found independence, who fought for independence. I was born in 1950s. We took part in some of these things. Independence came when I was aware that that is now our flag we got. And for some small boy in Ukraine with a vest, walking around with a vest, telling people, remove Uganda's flag and let them not come here, let them stay in the hotel. Look, that is not, if I were in the delegation, I would not be a party to it. I would have summoned the Ukrainian ambassador to Uganda, told him to leave within 24 hours and never to come back. We don't have the type of luxury with some malcontents of that nature. What are you, a second point, what are you going to do? Ramaphosa, please, next time, I am a great friend of Ramaphosa. When he got this problem of Farafara, I stood, you saw yourself on these programs everywhere. People harassing me because they said I stood by Ramaphosa. South Africans even followed me and harassed me on Twitter why I was supporting Ramaphosa. But I stood firm because I saw the problem where it was coming from. The problem between Botswana and South Africa was growing because the person who brought the Farafara problem was rented to Botswana and the hammer is in South Africa. That's where the problem of these things of money and what came about. So as an international expert, I saw that and I supported Ramaphosa. But now I want to tell President Ramaphosa, this thing of Ukraine, I told you, this war will end up as a frozen conflict. I warned them before they left. Again, I warned everybody. I have written, I write. The good thing with me, I write. And my statements are clear. This war in Ukraine, nobody wants to cross the red line. Nobody wants to trigger a third world war. So for you as a president of Africa, wasting our little money, wasting our fuel, wasting the people don't have even power in South Africa, load shedding. Use that money, the 2 planes, they should have used that money to do something for clinics and something for power for at least a week. Why do you go to Ukraine? Do you have the capability to stop this war? No.
What do you think of the excuse they gave for going to Ukraine and Russia? They mentioned how they war is affecting African economies in terms of gas, oil, wheat, and so on. What do you make of that excuse? That is the reason they said they went there.
They have not read. They have no clue of political science and international relations. Do they have a clue? Does Ramaphosa know what a frozen conflict is? Does he? Ask Ramaphosa. I will ask his PA. What's wrong with these people? This is a frozen conflict. It is not a conflict that is going to trigger a war beyond what it is. Russia came and took Crimea. Boss, don't you go to Crimea for holiday? Mr. Ano, are you not, Americans not enjoying Crimea?
Of course.
Yeah. Did you see anybody complaining? So why do you waste the taxpayers' money from Africa?
And that is why those who say, and that is why those who say, hey, you could have gone to Sudan. You could have gone to Amazonia to see what is going on there. They are correct.
I am coming on that. I'm coming on that.
Go on.
Since the war in Sudan started, nobody, Dr. Ono, nobody has stepped in Khartoum. Nobody has even gone deeper to say, generals, wave for one day. Your airspace. We are coming peace mission. We want to land in Khartoum. Cease fire. If the IGAD is afraid, I am ready. And I'm offering myself. The presidents are hearing. President Museveni, you know me. I'm capable of going to look for these two generals. They are all my friends. I know them from 1994. We need someone to volunteer to go there and say, what is it? What do you want? What message do you want to the world? You go to the other one and also say, what message do you want me to take to the world? Nobody has volunteered that. Nobody. It's now 3 months. The pounding, the killings, the rapes, the destruction of the entire Khartoum, the whole city is going down. Nobody is trying. All these guys fear others. I don't know why IGAD is fearing us. It's fearing Matanga, for example, to call me and say, can we go? Can you try? They will see the response they will get. They will see, and I'm telling them so that they hear. I know the geopolitics, the politics of Sudan. I have solved a war before. I have solved a very dangerous war in that region between the LRA and the government of Uganda. How did I do it? I did it by confronting the stakeholders directly. Nobody has gone there. AU is gone. I don't know why Arikana did not come here. When Arikana was being harassed, I was the only mouthpiece who stood against Dr. Muhammad Faki. I don't like Muhammad Faki at all. There are two institutions I don't like to see two people. The ICC.
But comrade, I am totally in agreement with you about Muhammad Faki, the AU chair, but I don't think do you think he is the problem? He is only part of the problem, because I don't think that Muhammad Faki alone decides AU policy, isn't it? It should be a collective responsibility.
No. That guy is a French mercenary. He makes decisions after calling Paris. He doesn't call an African head of state. Can I tell you why? I have evidence, boss. Go to my bank.
So if that be the case, why are African head of state not grumbling or questioning him? The good leaders like the Rutos we're talking about in Kenya, they're not talking. Museveni is not talking. Ghana is not talking. Nigeria is not talking. Cote d'Ivoire is not talking. So why is it a problem instead of these leaders who have him there?
Can I tell you, we are beginning to talk. We are waiting for his term. His term is going to end next year, 2024. we shall get a new Secretary General, a new African Union chairperson who is not in the pockets of the French, who is not a slave of the French, who does not polish the shoes of the French, who does not subject our organization to terrible mishaps and shame. Our organization of our founding fathers in the graves are wondering what type of people are these. He has ashamed us. Look at the Israel-Palestinian issue. That issue came out. It came out on the floor of AU. Why did he allow the Israelis and at the same time allow, he knows the Palestinians are here? Look at the Democratic Republic of Congo elections. You remember what he did? He wrote a letter saying that no president, no African country should recognize Democratic Republic of Congo. I opposed him. And Tshisekedi went to AU. He became the chairperson of African Union, the AU chairperson. Now, the person you have sent money for peace mission, and then the peace mission returns the verdict that the elections were free and fair. And you, the chairperson of African Union, again cancelled what your observers told you. Are you normal? Are you normal? So, the African Union chairperson is part of the headache, the shame that African leaders get on this continent. The earlier they move him out, the earlier they put him, censor him, the better. We have no say. Look at the conflicts. Look at your conflict in Amazonia. Why is it that Mohamed Faki has not asked the people, the Organization for Central African Organization, to bring a motion about the suffering of the people of Amazonia? Why? Look at the conflict in
but you don't expect that to happen, considering that all the organization, do they call it ACAS? They are all Francophone countries, and they will not raise a voice knowing what the French will do to them. But how about other African countries, especially in the west of Africa, rising up and saying something has to be done?
He has put them in a pocket. He has put them in a pocket. Look at what he has. You have seen Libya divided into two. How can African Union allow Libya to be divided into two? And one man raises an army of 20,000 rebels. General Khalifa Haftar is a friend of Mohamed Faki. Do you know that President Idris, elected president of Chad, was killed? You show me any statement of suspending Chad from AU. Cold blood. Did we suspend Chad? No. 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 Because he comes from Chad, he never suspended Chad. He runs to suspend Sudan. We have been telling them that Sudan issue, you must first start by making sure that the ICC issue goes away. In Sudan, whoever has got Bashir in custody is going to bargain for that country. If you want Sudan to have peace, remove the indictments, defer the indictments, a deferral, suspend the indictments of General Bashir. You will have a Sudan that you have been looking for. Less than that, we have a problem. There is no AU. AU is dead. And I don't know why Arikana come here, because that man, Mohamed Faki, has punished Arikana, was one of the few people talking like I'm talking. I'm not a diplomat. I'm not an NGO. I'm a Pan-African. Therefore, those diplomats who are seated in their countries thinking that Matanga is talking this, you don't employ me. You don't pay for my food. I pay for my food. Therefore, I will speak as Nyerere, like Obote. Obote taught me the English. And I speak like him. I will speak like a Jomo Kenyatta. I will speak like a Haile Selassie. I will speak like a secretary. I'll speak like Kwame Nkrumah, tell the truth, and I will follow the principles of Pan-Africanism, of Gabriel Nasser, Benapera, and all the people who died forming this organization and telling us Africa must not be taken as a second-degree continent where everything comes last, even in medicine. We would have died. They wanted us to die, then they give us medicine data. What type of life is this?
All right, Dr. Masanga, please stay put in there. We'll take a brief break out for 50 seconds and we will be right back. Thanks for staying put in there, ladies and gentlemen. What exactly do African leaders want? What do they want? What are they asking for? And I bring you that narrative right now. African countries have long advocated for reforms in the United Nations Security Council, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, to address what they perceive as imbalance of power and representation. The nature of reforms African countries would like to see vary, but here are some common areas where they express concern. Expansion of the United Nations Security Council. African countries have called for an expansion of the United Nations Security Council's membership, particularly in the category of permanent seats, to better reflect the geopolitical realities of the 21st century. They argue that Africa, as the second most populous continent and with its strategic importance, should have permanent representation in the United Nations Security Council. African countries also seek increased representation in the non-permanent seats at the United Nations Security Council to ensure that African concerns and perspectives are adequately represented in decision-making process. They want limitations on or the abolition of veto power held by the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, as they believe it hinders effective decision-making and prevents timely resolutions of conflict, especially in Africa. On the World Bank, African countries want greater voting power and influence in the decision-making process of the World Bank. They argue that the distribution of voting power should be more equitable, reflecting the economic contributions and needs of African nations. They also want a reform of the conditionalities attached to the loans and aid provided by the World Bank. African countries aim to have more flexibility in implementing policies that align with their specific development needs, rather than being subjected to externally imposed conditions. Same thing they want from the International Monetary Fund. African countries want reforms at the International Monetary Fund, lending practices to minimize the imposition of strict conditionalities and to ensure that debt sustainability and social development concerns are adequately addressed. That is exactly what African nations are asking for from the United Nations Security Council, the World Bank, and the IMF. They want seats on the table. Dr. Masenga, as much as I disagree with most of these leaders, I think they are correct. The time has come when African leaders have permanent representation at the United Nations Security Council and representation at the IMF, or sitting on the table at the IMF and the World Bank to decide the years when Africa were told what they should do, when they were communicated what has to be done, when they were given handouts. I think the time is over, isn't it, Dr. Masenga?
It is over. The time is over. We need representation. 1.4 billion people cannot walk around without a seat on the United Nations. Unless you are telling me that UN is dead. In fact, UN looks dead because the members of the United Nations Security Council are fighting. Under Chapter 7 of the United Nations Security Council, the United Nations Charter, they are supposed to keep peace. Article 39 and Article 40 of the United Nations Charter. The United Nations Security Council is supposed to keep peace, but it's not keeping the peace at all. We don't have the peace. Russia is in Ukraine. NATO is supplying arms through proxy to Ukraine. Another member called China is aloof, looking for its own way out, a permanent member. The other members on the committee, some very ready to have a direct, to be known that they support this side. So the UN literally is dead, is not there. You can't summon the Security Council members. What are they going to tell us? They can easily bring this war of Ukraine to a halt in a day, in a matter of hours. They can say, we cease fire, we want everybody to stand where they are, and let's talk. The UN Secretary General is only making pledges. Ukraine wants this money, Ukraine wants this money. When it comes to money distribution, the UN Secretary General knows that Africa gets the least amount. Recently in Paris, when they wanted to get money for Sudan, you saw how much money was paid for Sudan, contribution for humanitarian purposes. Very little. But Ukraine receives all the money. All members of the United Nations Security Council except two. The bigger three, France, Britain, and the United States, are all out sending huge money. So, the people dying in Sudan, are they not human beings? They are. I am not saying, I don't want to say whether Putin or this man is correct. I want to be neutral. I'm not a communist either. Neither am I a capitalist. I stand in the middle. I survive because God has told me to survive. If he wants to take me today, he will take me today, Peter. Don't ever get scared of these people. Tell them the truth. Tell them the truth. We need a seat. We need seats, not even 2, more. We have 4 regions or 3 regions, north, west, south, and east. The best the UN can do is to give us 4 seats. East Africa, we shall choose 1 member. North Africa will choose 1 member. West Africa will choose 1 member. And the southern part will choose 1 member. You can give us more to balance. So why are we not being given a seat? 80 years ago, the UN was created to create peace. Is there peace anymore? Is there peace anymore? Does Russia talk to America? It is just a matter of time, Peter, Dr. Anu. It's a matter of time that someone will cross the red line and trigger a 3rd world war. We are already in a 3rd world war. Let's accept this. We are already fighting. This is the 3rd world war. But nobody has triggered the mechanism like the Bismarck. The of the 2nd World War after the death of Bismarck and the incident that happened in Europe. So we have a problem here. When you tell me you are a member of UN, it comes in too late. It does too little. Rwanda. Let's go to Congo. For 18 years, the UN peacekeeping mission has been in Congo. It has not even liberated a toilet, not even an area for a toilet for Congolese to be safe to go to the toilet. It has 18,000 men collecting salaries, allowances in dollars. Some of them raping our women in DRC Congo and the Central African Republic. So what have they been? You tell me, 18 years how you are still lecturing in the campus somewhere. Up to now, the peace mission is in Congo. And they have not liberated even a toilet, an area where you can build a.
Well, you are very correct there, but not only Congo, other parts of Africa, but let me say this: why African leaders are at the moment standing up and trying to confront the West? That is what I would describe as the new scramble for Africa that we see going on. You see, the United States government summoned all African leaders to the USA. The Chinese leader summons all African leaders to China. The Russian leader summons all African leaders to Russia. Now the European leaders are going to summon, I think, is that in August or so, summons all African leaders to Europe. When will an African leader summon all European leaders to Africa, Dr. Masanga?
No, Doc, Dr. Anu, you are right, Peter. Let me tell you, the most interesting thing in our lives is our presidents. Some of them, I pity their advisors. We have African Union. 54 countries plus Sahawari 55. They have we don't need to go to see Mr. Biden. We need to get our message to the African Union. These are the changes I want. If I ever go near AU, I'm planning to go near to put in my, if President Museveni can look at my eyes and give me the support. Because I don't want to go to Uganda to stand for the presidential 2026. Let him now save the situation by sending me to AU. I've now told you today, I will go there. I want to clean African Union. You know why?
Is Museveni living in 2026?
I don't know. It's not upon me. I will stand with my own party. So I don't you know, we make mistakes as Africans. Why do you poke nose in other people's party? Organize your party.
No, when you talk about going to run for presidential elections, I know Museveni has been there for years, and sometimes when those guys overstay, they have to say they are leaving before any other person like you can have a chance.
No, I can have a chance, but I think I can be better off in Pan-Africanism. I don't want to squabble over things that are too much for me. Pan-Africanism and the African Union is better to manage. Then you be as an AU chairperson, tell off the French to stay away. Organize an African bank. Look at my views. This is in my manifesto. We can have an African bank with a branch everywhere in Africa. And we can contribute money to that bank. It will collect money from Africa and lend our people. We don't need to have these people's money. If you create a structure of an African bank, each country in Africa, the 54, have a branch of an AU bank and run that branch. It will collect money and profit. Why is the Secretary General, Dr. Muhammad Faki, always wearing a suit, walking around here collecting money from Qatar, from where? You know what? You know, boss, we are already in hell. Let God help us. When we reach up there, please God, don't put us in a second hell. This is very bad. Such a suggestion could bring money to African Union. If you tell each African country to produce $1 million, $1 million, can't you create a bank on African continent? Can't you trade in that bank and even help the bank? No, help the bank. Help the bank. Help people in Africa. Lend them the money.
I get you there. I get you there. But I'd like us to go back to the question of this new scramble for Africa, where you have the Americans, the old folks, you have the Chinese, you have the Russians, you have the European Union, all scrambling to win Africa's favor. How can Africa take advantage of this? She is now the most beautiful woman in the room and everybody wants to call her. How does Africa take advantage of this?
We don't have... I see the President of the Republic of Kenya coming up. I think is one of the few who is wooing them. Yes. When you talk that way, people will come, will understand the frankness. But I don't see African heads of state. When you look at Buhari. Buhari left Nigeria in a very useless state. Buhari himself is very useless. And left Nigeria useless. Broken to pieces. I don't care. Now he's in a bed in Charing Cross in London, well guarded. And the court told us he needs immunity. We have said, okay, we are not morticians. We can't serve people who are not well with our petitions. So Buhari came to power and promised that he was going to bring about, remove Boko Haram in 100 days. When you call Buhari to America, he went like he was the first one with a big plane there. Your own president from the Yaoundé, the Yaoundé guy of 92.
Well, the guy in Yaoundé is not my president. I am actually the president of Ambazonia, so he is president to himself. He is not my president. He used to be.
The guy of Yaoundé, even he didn't know that he was in America. You could see him saying, where are we? You know? So, look, we ashamed. African presidents, some of them have grown. They have grown the affinity to humiliation matrix. Humiliation matrix. You know you enjoy to be humiliated. Why do you go there? A man who is calling you, the man of Ukraine was even calling them that they should attend.
Right. In Ukraine, the advisor to the president said, these guys have no business being in the Ukraine. They shouldn't be there. I mean, that was pure humiliation. But talking about another subject of humiliation, I would like you to stay put. We will take a few minutes out. When we come back, we're going to be talking about another area where the West tries to clamp down on African leaders. I'm talking about the subject of homosexuality or gay marriage. And after that, we will open the phone lines. We'll open the phone lines. After that, we'll open the phone lines and take a few calls. Stay in place. Stay put place. All right, ladies and gentlemen, one subject that African leaders have also been battling of recent is this issue of LGBT rights, or call it homosexual or gay rights in the continent. We've seen a barrage of attacks on African leaders from the West against laws that seek to ban the practice of homosexualism in Africa. Many African societies have traditionally held conservative views on sexuality, influenced by cultural, religious, and historical factors. Some countries have even criminalized homosexuality altogether in Africa. Many African leaders have indeed opposed homosexuality and resist Western influence on this matter. Examples include countries like Uganda, Nigeria, Zambia, Tanzania, where legislation against homosexuality has been introduced or enforced. In these cases, opposition to LGBTQ is often justified through cultural, religious, or moral arguments. The reasons, however, behind the resistance to homosexuals in Africa are multifaceted. They include deeply ingrained cultural beliefs, religious teachings, political considerations, and concerns about the erosion of traditional values. It is important to understand that these perspectives are deeply rooted in local context and cannot be dismissed or ignored as far as Africa is concerned. In spite of this, the Western nations, with the complicity of the mainstream media, seem to be in alliance to force homosexuality down the throats of Africans. CNN, for example, Deutsche Welle, the BBC, France 24, Reuters, AP, and AFP, etc., are all behind the campaign to shove it down the throats of Africans in spite of the resistance. Dr. Masenga, before I bring you back in, I'd like you to listen to this clip here. Please listen to this.
In our country, we will have our morals. We will protect our children. And we are making this law. We are making this law for ourselves. We are making this law for our children. We are making this law for the children of our children. This country will stand firm. And once it passed, I can tell you, Madam Speaker, we are going to reinforce the law enforcement officers to make sure that homosexuals have no space in Uganda.
MPs from Cameroon told the conference that a law criminalizing the vice has already been passed in their country.
It is a crime punishable under our laws, and we intend to keep it as that for long.
Unless we are saying we've run out of issues and now matters of sex is more important and it's really threatening the Commonwealth.
We cannot ask Senegal to say tomorrow we legalize homosexuality and tomorrow is gay parades. That's not possible either, because our society doesn't accept it. Society will evolve. It will take as long as it takes. I believe that even in northern countries, this debate isn't totally exhausted. Senegalese public opinion massively backs the criminalization of homosexuality.
All right, Dr. Masenga, let me bring you back to weigh in on to this. The West wants Africa to embrace homosexualism. The people of Africa say, no, it is not the leaders who are saying, we don't want it. The people overwhelmingly are saying, we do not want it. Look at the vote in Ugandan parliament. Overwhelmingly, I believe it was probably 99.99% who voted against, who voted for that bill. But the West is saying, I watched some interviews with the leader of Zimbabwe where the reporter is asking him, will you change the constitution to accommodate homosexual rights? But this is the point. Africans are saying, we do not want it. It is not culturally friendly. We don't want it. It is not the leaders who are saying they don't want it. If the West believes in democracy, why are they not listening to the voices in Africa who say, no, homosexualism is not in our culture?
First of all, I want the viewers to understand I have no comment, because this is a matter which is private. It's a private matter. That's what I consider a private matter, because I don't think you go on shouting, telling your wife that or telling all everybody in the studio that you are going to have sex. Do you? Have you ever done it?
I disagree with you there because again we are talking about hold on, we are talking about democratic principles. Hold on there, let me make the point. We are talking about democratic principles. The people, democracy by the people, for the people, and the people say no to it. Why does someone want to shove it under their throat? It's not a matter of privacy. We are not saying kill homosexuals, kill lesbians. No, we are saying it's a matter of what the overwhelming majority are saying. Why should somebody want it changed?
First of all, Peter, I am a Ugandan, but I live in the United Kingdom. And the laws of United Kingdom are very clear. Peter, I am not coming here, and I'm not going to come here to discuss this issue or to condemn all the things I'm telling you. I don't live in Uganda. I don't participate in the parliament. What they do, the people of Africa, not only Uganda.
Doctor, I am not asking you to condemn it. I am not asking you to condemn anything. I am asking you, look at it from the perspective of democracy. The perspective of democracy. Every time elections are rigged in Africa, the West pays a blind eye. But when it comes to gay rights, is right? They want. Hold on a second there. Let me bring this clip to you. Hold on a second there. Please listen to this.
On the question of human rights, on the question, for example, of same-sex rights, never mind same-sex marriage or anything like that that might be in the future, for want of a better word, gay rights, the overturning of laws against homosexuality. Can you promise me today that you will do that?
I'm a constitutionalist. The current provision in the Constitution forbids same-sex marriages and uphold that until that issue in our country is not an issue of the political party.
Not same-sex marriage. I'm talking about same-sex relationships. Never mind, we can put marriage to side. I'm talking about same sexual activity.
In our current constitution, it is banned.
Are you going to lead a campaign?
No, I will not lead a campaign.
Why not?
Those people who want that are the people who must canvass for such things, so that if they're able to win majority in amending the constitution, they would amend it. But it's not my duty on that issue to say I want to campaign for this. No.
Of course it is your, with respect, Mr. President, of course it's your duty. It's your duty to uphold human rights as recognized by the United Nations and as recognized by the countries.
It's my duty to obey my constitution.
Correct.
I would not be persuaded to violate my constitution.
So I'm asking for your opinion, both as a man and as...
I will not be persuaded to violate my constitution. That is the president of Zimbabwe. Now, that is not only happening in Zimbabwe, where you see a concerted effort by the mainstream media to shove this agenda on Africa and African leaders. I'd like you to, again, listen to this.
So, I think you're going to get yourself into trouble. Because what you've categorically just stated is that this is not an issue for us, for the Kenyan people, and you don't think that the idea of their privacy, their equality, their rights is important.
This is,
but it's a global issue right now.
It's important to them where they are.
Why is it not
I am
important
saying
to you
that it
as
is
president
not
of the country?
Important to me as the leader of 49 million Kenyans. And after, if you want to ask me my personal opinion.
What is your personal opinion?
After I finish my process, I can talk about my personal opinion. But as the leader of the people of the Republic of Kenya, I represent that which our people are desirous to be. And I have no choice, but that is my position.
Would you publicly say that people who are LGBT, gay members of the Kenyan population should not be discriminated against, should not be violated, should not be abused?
No Kenyan should be abused, should be, mistreated.
What is your message to Western human rights groups, to President Obama, to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people?
Respect African societies and their values. If you don't agree, you just keep quiet. Let's manage our society the way we see. If we are wrong, we shall find out by ourselves. Just the way we don't interfere with yours.
Do you personally dislike homosexuals?
Of course, they are disgusting. What sort of people are they? How can you go? I never knew what they were doing. That's how I've been told recently that what they do is terrible. disgusting. But I was ready to ignore that if there was proof that that's how he's born, abnormal. But now the proof is not there.
Dr. Masanga, I like the way your president puts it out there. But let me frame the question from another angle. In Africa, you know as well as I do, men are allowed, the traditions allow men to marry as many women as they can take care of. I want you to think about this. Is their right to do it? Do you think an African can come to the US and say, America, you must start allowing your men to marry 10 wives, marry 15 wives, or go to Europe, or do the same thing and then try to use the media to force it upon the people?
First of all, Dr. Peter Eno, you are putting me in a situation that I told you I don't want to discuss this matter. First, I am a man with my children, and I have full grown-up children, 8 of them, and my wife. We live in a society, a democratic society in the United Kingdom. We don't go around, Peter, to find out what you do in your house. Sorry. What you do in your house, in your private life. I was trying to make my point that this is more of a private matter, depending on the place where you are. In the United Kingdom, for example, we move about in planes, in trains, the buses. Everybody minds his own business. It is normal. They do. As long as it has nothing to do with me, nobody is coming to force me to do what I don't want. They don't victimize the people. In African context, it is different. So,
but then, Doctor, I hear you. I think I respect your views. I respect your views.
No, boss, I don't.
I respect your views. Not to want to delve.
We don't want to spoil a very good, you know,
I agree with you. We don't want to spoil it, but I thought there was no way we were going to. I thought there was no way we were going to discuss Africa and what is happening in Africa without touching on this. But I understand you. But this is the point that I am. This is I get you. This is the point, though. This is the point that I'm trying to make. We could not be discussing what is happening.
He points about himself. I'm not. I have a family, and my family is very clear. I'm a man, and I have a wife. So when you ask me questions about man to man, I don't know. But I respect everybody's business. They do their own business. So why do you don't bring me here to ask me whether I go this way or that? No. That is, let's keep it and allow it for now. Let's not spoil our Pan-Africanism zeal.
I hear you. We will leave it there. Yes. Maybe on another occasion when you are ready to talk.
I live in a let me explain. I live in a democracy for 38 years. A democracy that allows people's rights, that allows people to engage in their personal affairs, that allows people to do what they want as long as you are not breaking the Constitution. And therefore,
you are trying to avoid the issue, and I'm trying to end it, but you are dragging me right back into it. Because when you are talking about people's, when you are talking about people's rights, the problem with the LGBT movement is that they are now taking it to the schools, forcing it on your children. Have you heard about sex conversion at the early age, as young as 3, 4, 5 in schools in the USA?
I live in an area where we see all this, and we see everything happen. Therefore, and you continue with your private life, like President Kenyatta said. Kenyatta told you, it's not my problem. I am not a leader in Africa for you to fix me, to tell you which direction I should go. Museveni is the president of Uganda. Uhuru was the president of Kenya. They have, Mnangagwa is the president of Zimbabwe. I'm not a president of an African country. To be here, to carry a cross.
But you play a role, Dr. Masenga, but you play a big role in shaping opinion and policy in Africa. You lead the Pan-African Forum, and that forum is meant to shape opinion. How can you now avoid talking about a public issue as important as LGBT rights?
I am avoiding because the framing and the discussion and the ripples out of it could be very dangerous. I am avoiding it because I have my own opinion. I live with everybody. I believe everybody's human rights must be respected. And that is all. And that is what I believe in. I have nobody, whether you are yellow, white, green, purple, it is your business to conduct yourself within the laws of that particular country. So me, I've just told you, no, Peter, wait. Let me make this clear because I have just told you I live in Britain. And in Britain, there is no law prohibiting or telling me I should discriminate anybody.
Well, I think, again, since we are not disposed to really discuss the subject, the argument of living in Britain and not being able to talk about LGBT, I think it doesn't carry any water because everybody has an opinion. Governments have opinion, but we are saying that the problem...
My opinion is that I asked you a question. You have not answered me. Peter, are you leaving that studio? Will you tell everybody in the studio that you are going to have sex with your wife?
Of course not. But then, if I'm having, if I'm doing that with my wife, what is wrong about that? We are talking about here. What we are talking about is something that is a little bit abnormal. It's not about intercourse between a man and a wife. It's about a man and a man and a woman and a woman.
Can I ask you why you don't tell everybody? Can I ask you why you don't tell everybody there? And I go to the streets and I say, I am going to have sex with my wife. Do you do that? No. Please. You don't do that.
Again, we are talking about something more than that. We are talking about a situation where there is every concerted effort being made to shove it down the throats of Africans. You have said, you have seen your own, you've heard your own president said he cannot support it. You have heard the Zambian president said, I'm not going to change the constitution to support it. You hear from Senegal. You hear from the Commonwealth, African Commonwealth representative at a recent meeting. I mean, what is so difficult for those of us who speak for Africans with Pan-African organizations like yours from saying, hey, let Africans decide? What is it hard for you to say so?
No, listen. Analyst, Doc, you hold a PhD, I hold a PhD. We agree with each other that each country has a constitution of its own. You live in America, Arizona, where gay is practiced. Do you go around beating gay people?
Of course not. Nobody is supporting that. But let me ask you, let me ask you, Dr. Masenga, if your daughter comes home and tell you, Daddy, no, please, Dr. Masenga, if your daughter comes home and say, Daddy, I found my husband, and you say, who is he? And she says, she is. What will you say? You say that is her choice.
I sit down and talk to her. I am fortunate, Dr. Peter Eno, and luckily enough, all my 80 children, apart from one who is still not married, all of them are married, and they have I have 11 grandchildren. So please, you are asking a wrong man, wrong questions. I have grandchildren.
All right, we will leave it there. I can tell how uncomfortable you are. I can tell how uncomfortable.
I am a granddad. You are asking me. I have a 18-year-old Radini, my firstborn from a Portuguese man from Rwanda in Angola, who is 18. Therefore, all my children are home. They are all married. They are produced for me grandchildren. Don't ask a wrong horse. You're asking a wrong horse. Don't ask me those questions. I have done everything good for politics of Africa, but such topics I avoid because it is a private matter where I live, where I am.
Well, I also live where LGBT rights are legalized, they are protected, but I also have the right to share an opinion, which is what we are doing. Yes. Please stay put in there. Stay put in there. I'm going to open the phone lines.
Can you bring debt relief and debt and the money? Let's talk about good topics. Don't spoil my day by bringing me to a subject that I don't want to discuss. Please.
All right, let's do this. Let's do this. Stay put. I open the phone line and let's take some questions on the African subject we've been discussing. Please don't touch your remote. Stay put. Okay, the phone lines are open, ladies and gentlemen. If you have a question for Dr. David Matsanga on the subject of the new Pan-African nationalism we've been discussing, the line is open, but make sure that before you call, turn down the volume of your set. Turn down the volume of your TV set before you call so that your call is not delayed. Make sure you turn down the volume of your set before you call. So again, the phone line is open. Go ahead and call. All right, again, ladies and gentlemen, the phone line is open, and Dr. David Matsanga is still here to take any of your questions. The phone line is there on your screen. Before you make your call, make sure that the volume of your set is turned down. Make sure the volume of your set is turned down before you call. Waiting for your call. The phone line is open. All right, Dr. Matsanga, let me get back to you. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about something else. Actually, somebody is dropping I guess a question here. Well, he is asking a question in the line of same-sex marriage. I will not read that question, ask that question, because you do not want to discuss that subject. Please, we will not take any questions on the same-sex issue. If you have questions on other African issues, go ahead and call. All right, let's get to the first caller here. Hello.
Good afternoon, Comrade Chris.
Good afternoon, sir. Where are you calling from, please?
Calling from Maryland. I heard the tough debate you are having with your guest.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. And what is on your mind?
Well, from what your guest is saying, he will not come out clear to you that he doesn't support it or he supports it. But I know from his argument he doesn't support it. Please, to make a good forum today, tell your callers not to raise this topic again. Let's forget about this topic. Africa have a lot to do.
That is what I have just done.
In our plate.
That is what I have just done. We will not be taking any questions on the subject of LGBT rights. If you have a question for Dr. Masanga or to myself on any Pan-African subject, please call, go ahead and ask the question.
Yeah, that was just my contribution, just to make him comfortable, because he has always been on our side. And he has been spreading our struggle in the world.
Absolutely.
I know, and he's so uncomfortable talking about this LGBT thing, which is understood.
Correct. All right.
Yes. Thank you so much, comrade.
Thank you. Thank you for the call. Have a great day. Okay, the phone line is open. I see we are missing some calls here. Go ahead and call, ladies and gentlemen. Again, the phone line is open. Dr. Masaga, we earlier talked about a single African currency. You will recall that I think just a year ago, West African countries came together and they were trying to create a single West African currency. The French came in. The moment the French stepped in, the thing was over. You have any idea where that thing ended and what happened to it?
First of all, I want to tell you that the French will never allow a single currency to take place in French-speaking countries.
Sorry about that. Go on, please. Okay, doctor, hold on. Let me get this caller, and then you just take all at the same time. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from?
Hello.
I can hear you. Where are you calling from?
I'm actually calling from La Republic.
You're calling from La Republic. Okay, what is on your mind, sir?
Yes, from La Republic.
Yes, go on.
Yes,
go on.
I first of all want to congratulate you and Doctor for what you are doing for the people of Ambazonia. And also, I want to also tell the doctor to encourage him that he should do his best or whatever means he can do to publicize the Ambazonia cause, because at this juncture we don't have any reason to.
Hello. Okay, I think we have a bad connection there. Let's get to the next caller. Hello.
Yes, Comrade Chris, Mr. President, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, sir. This is Dr. Ngwambe, I guess.
Yes, sir, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, I want to say greetings to the doctor. Thank you for joining ABS TV and coming to talk to Ambazonians today. The question that I have for you, parliamentary democracy. And the international community played this cruel joke on us by creating a situation where a democracy, a parliamentary democracy, was merged with a dictatorship. In the Pan-Africanist context, we have countries in Africa that are dictatorships, and we have countries in Africa that are democracies. Is it not a cruel joke to think that we can make this Pan-Africanist thing work when you have countries that are led by people who don't believe in the principles of democracy, respect for human rights? You'll have some countries where people's human rights are being violated, and then in those countries where they actually practice good political systems, they don't say anything, they don't do anything. Is it not also a cruel joke to think that an Pan-Africanist setup can be done where we all can agree, we can manage the continent together, when we all have seen that democracies and dictatorships do not mix? Thank you.
All right, Doctor, you are on, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Whether you are in a dictatorship or in a democratic institution, the values of Pan-Africanism don't change. The only thing that changes is the environment you are in. But you remain an African. Whether you are in the UK, whether you are in America, whether you are in Sweden, whether you are in any country abroad, you still remain with an African spirit. That Pan-African spirit never goes away. Therefore, the new type of Pan-Africanism that is coming on the stage is an African calling all African people to call upon them. If we start the movement of Pan-Africanism, understanding the problems like the way we have dissected the problems for 2 hours here, we have looked at all the concepts of Africa, what went wrong, what goes wrong, who is in the dictatorship. We have identified those who are in the dictatorship. Now, like-minded people, Doctor, your president of Amazonian people, myself, and other people across the globe who think the same way, if we start thinking of how to change things on African continent, the type of dictatorship will go away. Remember, we are on the 65 years of independence. Britain, where I am now, is 1,000 years. America, where you are, President Anu, is 250 years of democracy. We have just 65 years. The first country got independence in 1957, Ghana, followed by other states which got independence in the 60s. So democracy evolves. But how do we now change? We have said 65 years. Are we going to stay there and lament? And lament about Paul Biya? We have lamented. One of these days you'll wake up when he's not there. You have to prepare yourself. We lament. For us, the person who is in front of you fought Idi Amin. I fought Idi Amin. I'm a soldier. At the age of 17, about 18, 17, 9 months, I learned how to become a soldier to fight Idi Amin. That's why I have got this vision and this determination, this courage of telling Macron, you have a problem. I have got the tools of analysis to challenge Macron because he hasn't read beyond me. I can tell him, no, this is not correct. So all of us, we must think first as Africans. Doc, 40 years ago, China was the poorest country on planet Earth. It had one rice scheme in my country. One rice scheme feeding almost 300 million people. We used to share rice with China. And it had one railway called Transam Railway collecting copper to manufacture bullets from Zambia. But Mao Zedong went back. This is why I want you, the person who asked this question. Mao Zedong went back and sat down and said, what do we do? Africa is going in a different way. We have talked 65 years. The colonial mentality still comes in. When we want to bring a currency, the French come in and topple your government. When you talk about their currency, they assassinate you. So time has come for Africa to change its direction. And the way we are changing the direction is through this type of discussion that we single out. We go back to a renaissance. Africa needs a renaissance. We have had enough. We can't lament. If we go on lamenting about Paul Biya, imagine tomorrow Paul Biya might not be there. How are you going to progress as the people of Amazonia?
But Doc, I believe you understand, yes, Paul Biya may not be there tomorrow. The problem with Pan-Africanism is exactly what you have defined, talking about the extinction of boundaries. I guess some people feel like if you just take boundaries away, we have a one currency, we can then trade and do stuff like that. Good governance emerges. That is not the case.
Mr. President, wait. You don't need to remove boundaries in order to trade. Boundaries can be there and you trade. You yourself, you were in Sweden. I know you went, I think, Sweden, or you have lived in those European countries. They have boundaries. They have boundaries, but they have a euro. When you go to Heathrow, when you go to Amsterdam, when you go to Austria, when you go to Switzerland, when you go to Croatia, when you go to Hungary, when you go to all this, you need a euro. Is the boundary of Netherlands swept away? No.
If I may ask you, in the context of Pan-Africanism, where do you situate the people's groups that are still fighting legitimately for independence over freedom?
You must fight and get it. You must be determined. You must be united. One of the things why I kept quiet, it is for the first time today, Dr. Anu, for you to have persuaded me to come on this show. I saw you and I warned all of you, Amazonians. 6 years ago, go and look through my clips. I warned all of you that one of the problems that have happened in my 38 years in exile, while fighting to restore political parties back at home, I used not to talk to President Museveni until 2008. We know I am not even in Uganda. I created peace. I signed the peace agreements. But one of the biggest mistakes that you people will have, if you are fighting a dangerous man like Mr. Paul Biya, is unity. If you don't have unity and you fragment yourselves, some of you will be killed when you have not achieved your aim. For us, Ugandans, who were in Tanzania in 1978 or 79, some of us were young, handsome, tall. Now we are big, we have put on muscles, eaten chips and French fries, and grown big. We put the differences aside and said the enemy was Idi Amin. We formed the UNLF. My first job was from Uganda National Liberation Diplomatic Department. We were the first people who recruited all the soldiers that you see in the army who went to Tanzania to train, because Idi Amin, everything was gone down at a younger stage. A younger youth, I worked so hard, but we put differences aside. So if you are preparing and thinking of liberating yourselves from dictatorship, first you must seek unity amongst yourselves. Agree to disagree on some things, but remain united. I warned everybody. I have warned Akwanga. Is it called Okwanga? Akwanga? Where is my friend Akwanga? I have warned. Where is the gentleman? Another one. All of them. I've met them. I've found them. All of them taking different directions. Very good. But have unity of purpose. Know that there is one person that is making you die in exile. That's all. Some of us now have grown and handed over power to the younger generation. And when you look at Uganda politics in opposition, people might think Besigye is older than Dr. Matsanga. No. Besigye is a kid. He's a kid of about 63 years. Small young man. I am older than Besigye.
Museveni?
Yes.
Are you referring to Museveni as being your junior?
No. Besigye.
Who is him? I don't know him. I don't think I've heard about him.
Dr. Besigye, the leader of opposition. The leader of opposition, Dr. Besigye, is younger than me.
Okay.
He was not even in Moshi. He was not even in Tanzania. President Museveni is older than all of us. Than me. And that respect, as a commander and a deputy chairman of the military commission under UNLF, we gave him respect. And up to now, we give him respect as a commander. But the unity that made us to succeed against Idi Amin was we disagreed and agreed on one fact, that the enemy who has made us stay outside is Idi Amin, not ourselves. So I call upon you people of Ambazonia, you have asked me this question, to unite, because time is coming. Don't shame us like a Sudan, South Sudan. Don't shame us like a South Sudan. You remember that?
Yeah.
Some people in South Sudan wish they had remained to Khartoum. Because as soon as they got the independence,
hold on there. Let's get this caller here. Hello. Hello. I think it's a bad connection, bad network, I guess. Caller not getting through. Okay, that is a bad network there. But I think, Dr. Masanga, we've had quite a great conversation here. I really want to appreciate you accepting my invitation to come in and be my guest. I guess we'll be doing this time and again. Hold on a second, let's see. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Where are you calling from, please?
Oh, great. I'm calling from the Philippines.
The Philippines. All right. And what is on your mind, sir?
Yeah, I want to give you and Dr. there a hand of applause. Congratulations for what you're doing, and especially to the doctor. And I want to appreciate his firm stand on Pan-Africanism, being a Pan-African, and what they have been doing. Indeed, if African leaders today are like making a move in a positive direction, thanks to their advocacy. Somebody like him I respect so much. Even the other member who is absent, like Dr. Madam Arikana, they have been doing what that is wonders, which is good, and that is what has, let me say, transformed some of these African leaders to what we are seeing today. So, Doctor, I would like to ask you that you continue on the right footing, despite the shortcomings. And on these shortcomings, I would like to put a finger on it, because I'm seeing you being so personal when as to this issue of homosexuality. Now, I will tell you, you are an aspiring African leader. We are behind you. Time is coming, not long from now. Let me say 1, 2, 3 years. You'll be leading us. Not everybody has this opportunity to be at the forefront. But then somebody who is a leader at such moment puts away his own personal anxiety or feelings or ability, and then look at that of the people. If you have to lead us in Africa, because there will be a panel of a debate, and this topic will come up. Is that what you're going to tell us? That it is your personal issue? You have to look at it in a personal way? I think not, because your rivals will overtake you there. So I want to thank you that prepare yourself. I'll be one of those who will vote for you. When it comes to bringing you into the African Union, I think if they bring you there, then there will be organizations that will lead us, and we'll be able to say we have Dr. David there, we have Dr. Madame Arikana there, we have this, we have people like you we are proud of. So please, on issues of the general public that holds the nation, I think when you say you look at it as a private matter, this is a public studio, and we are looking at you. So please, thank you. I hope you have understood me. If you have something to say on that, you can still tell us. But when it comes to this issue, the culture of African people, the value of an African should be respected far more above the Westerners who are trying to push it down our throats. We can't accept that. And if you accept it, let your area where you live, you are in Europe, you are a diaspora member now from Africa. If the culture of Europe, where the democracy is there, is consuming you, be careful, because you will not be able to bring it down to Africa and stand as an egocentric somebody to lead the people when it comes to matters of generosity that affects our culture. Thank you. I hope you understood. Culture and our values must be maintained.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Dr. Masanga, if you have any point there, go ahead, please.
Mr. President, you put me in a tight corner. And the corner you are trying to put me in a tight corner. I am a member of the Anglican Church of England. I go to the church. I've been going to that church for 33 years.
Stay on the line. Stay on the line, please. Go on, Dr. Masanga.
In Surrey, I serve everybody. I rose to the rank of assistant warden in my Anglican church. I don't go to any other church of planet Earth except the church that follows my views that I follow the views of the Anglican Church. This issue has not only divided people in Africa, it has divided churches in UK and other places. As a private member, I have my role. I've already told you who I am, and I have a family. And I have said I want to talk about this issue at all on any public consumption. But when I become a leader, like Dr. Arnold is the leader of an organization of the Amazonians, please, you are protected. But at the moment, for me, I live in the United Kingdom, where the rights of every human being is very important. I don't interfere with anybody's right. I don't stop anybody.
Oh, all right. I will not get back into that argument. You have the right to your opinion, of course. We will not debate that since you are not. It's not one of your favorite subjects. Let's get to the next caller here. Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon, Comrade Peace, and good evening, Dr. Masanga. This is Samuel Thomas calling from Belgium.
All right.
I understand that Dr. Masanga is having an opinion of his over this particular issue. But the problem here is that as a Pan-Africanist, the West has never accepted anything that is coming from Africa. Let me cite the issue of polygamy, which the West has condemned it absolutely, and the West would never embrace it. Why can't Dr. Masanga look at this issue from that perspective? What is Dr. Masanga going to give the West as an African for the West to embrace it, other than Dr. Masanga considering everything that is coming from the West? Because we are looking upon people like Dr. Masanga as a Pan-Africanist who is a leader in Africa to also show something down the truth of the West. Why should we think that Africans must embrace what the West brings to us, but the West cannot accept anything that is coming from us? Thank you.
Thank you for the call. Dr. Masanga, I don't know if you have an opinion. I know, again, this is an uncomfortable subject for you. But you can see how important it is. You can imagine how important it is to our people.
It is important, but I am democratic. I have my democratic right. And that's all. And I live in a country governed by the laws. The British laws are very clear of the United Kingdom.
So in the United Kingdom, are you saying that you are not allowed to offer an opinion on the public issues like this?
I offer opinion, but I don't go to the extreme.
No, I mean, what is it? Nobody is asking you to present any extreme position. We are presenting what African leaders are putting out there, their resistance about it. We are asking you as a Pan-Africanist, what you think that a sudden resurgence is all about.
Mr. President, sir, I have offered my opinion. I have told you I have 11 grandchildren, 80 children, 11 grandchildren, my wife and myself. Is that not an opinion for you? That's it. That's my opinion. And I observe laws of other people. I don't go on snooping, smelling on other people's business. My business is my family.
So you think that African leaders who say no to this thing are snooping into some other people's business life?
Why don't they? We have been. Why have not they? For example, listen first. Why does Africa go to elections every 5 years? Is there a law in the Plateau Republic? You yourself, you read political science. Show me one law in the Plateau Republic where democracy started from. that you have to hold elections every 5 years? Show me.
All right. As we have said, I am not very much.
You are an African, but you accepted to hold elections every 5 years. Who told you to hold elections every 5 years?
When you are very comfortable, Dr. Masanga, to discuss this subject, we are going to get into it. For now, you are not very comfortable discussing it, so I will have us avoid talking about it. Maybe when you are, I bet you will go into those details and talking about democracy and elections in Africa. But listen, I really appreciate you showing up to be part of this broadcast. I hope to have you again any other time. If you have any last word, please go ahead and say.
Thank you very much. But when I want to go, somebody comes in now. Maybe he's going to.
Hello. Hello.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from, please?
I'm calling from Ground Zero.
Okay, and what is your contribution?
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate the two of you in the studio, especially Dr. Masanga. And I have just this one question to ask. Is that married for the purpose of money making or for the purpose of family making? Thank you.
Dr. Masanga, you are trying to avoid this subject, but it keeps on coming back. Right?
I am married to a Ugandan wife. My wife is a Ugandan. And my children are all Ugandans.
I think we got you there. We got you there. There's no need to belabor the point. Listen, yes. Go ahead and
I don't know why you're asking me questions of things that I don't answer for people.
No, I'm not asking. You heard it from the callers. All right, please go ahead, and if you have the last word, especially for Ambazonians, go ahead and give a last word to Ambazonians, please.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Africans, for the last 6 to 7 years, the people of Ambazonia have suffered. They have suffered the scourge of war. They have been killed, raped, maimed, defiled for the sake of seeking self-determination and democratic space to exercise their rights under Resolution 1608. Resolution 1608 gave them the independence, the right to decide to go away from this French-speaking colony. Unfortunately, the leaders of Africa in the General Assembly did not take up this matter. It has dragged on, and 7 years ago, it burst into a very sharp conflict. Mr. Paul Biya has killed, maimed, slaughtered, injured, raped women and men altogether under the auspices of United Nations Security Council, which is already fighting itself, and the auspices of the French presidents who have been in power, and under auspices of the current French President Macron. The African Union, in concert with the French, has not done a good job either to bring the matter of the Ambazonian people to surface, to bring the matter of Ambazonian people to the international scene, to get the people of Ambazonia the power, the help, the struggle that they have put up to save them from extinction, from the marauding French army that goes on killing, maiming, eating raw human beings, cooking them, torturing them, sentencing some of them to life imprisonment without trial. This has happened under the auspices of the African Union. It is therefore very important for people, as we speak about issues which are side issues, which are private issues that are not a concern to the international community of Africa, which is suffering. The community of the Amazonia and the people dying on the ground in Amazonia need freedom, need peace, need water, need food, need any assistance that you can give them. They don't need the topics that are being imposed on them. They need a liberation to go stand as human beings who were created by the same God who created the French-speaking people of the Yaoundé. It is therefore my call that the leaders of this great Amazonia, and I want to take this opportunity to thank one man called Chief Charles Taku. Chief Charles Taku, all of you should thank him for having introduced me. He's my lawyer #1 in the world. Chief Charles Taku, when ICC wanted to lock me up, Charles Taku stood for me. You people have told your security today. We won. We defeated the ICC. Dr. Masanga here, Ocampo wanted to finish me. The French wanted to slaughter me. But Chief Charles Taku, a man from Amazonia, a soft-spoken lawyer, very knowledgeable, said, don't worry. They have touched the wrong wire. You have been doing Pan-African work. We shall defeat them. I want to take this opportunity on this program for you to convey my greetings to Chief Charles Taku. That is my lawyer. Anything you touch me, even right now, if you touch me, he will be in court, even without payment. Who am I not to support the people of Amazonia? Who am I? If a man from Amazonia can support me in court for free, where would I have got $700,000 to defend myself against a marauding, fake, prudish, sardonic, obnoxious court called ICC? Because of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto's cases and the Ocampo 6 in Kenya. I was going to serve a sentence until we challenged the ICC to show proof. That's why I've taken this opportunity. And your radio, and please, thank you for calling me. Keep calling me. But keep that subject, which is private, to other people. Don't bring in that subject to me. Because I've told you, I have 8 grown-up, beautiful 5 daughters, beautiful 3 sons, and a beautiful 11 grandchildren. So when you ask me questions of things I don't know, you are just destroying me. And for me, I would not answer, and I will tell you, I live in a country which has laws. I obey the laws of Britain. And that is why I will keep obeying them. When I become a leader in Africa, Dr. Onu, maybe I can change my stance. Like Mnangagwa is a leader. President Museveni is a leader. Macky Sall, who is killing people also now, is killing opposition, hammering their legs, is a leader. No, those are the same people you say they stand. They are using this as a populist. You know, look at that. You know, Cameroon man The woman there saying it is a law, even added there, they kill even Amazonians, you know. So when I become a leader, like a Dr. Anu, now you're a leader, president of Amazonia in exile, now you have a platform to talk. But me now, opinion shaper, I can't say anything more than that. I've said, and I thank all of you Amazonians. Thank you very much. Keep the struggle, keep going. I'm always with you. I will come back. Dr. Anu, don't forget to call me anytime. I don't shy. I'm not ashamed. I'm not like Arikana. I will come and say, I know why the subject, but I know why Arikana, you know, this type of questions would have been very uncomfortable. So thank you.
All right, Dr. Masanga, we had a great conversation here. I hope that it even gets better next time you are on set. Thank you for sacrificing. I know it's about after midnight or so in where you are. Thank you for joining the show, and remain safe, sir. Good night. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was again Dr. David Masanga joining me on the set. We are going to call it a night here. I look forward to being back here. I guess on Monday. I should be back here on Monday, and I will say that until then, all of you remain safe, especially if you are where we call ground zero. I ask you, please remain safe out there. I will be back here on Monday. Adios.